Hello, hello. Welcome to Think Lab number 16. Michael, how are you?
Good morning. I am great. I am great. Had a great weekend. How about you?
Good. You look like you're at Fort Snelling
Why?
because you got
Was
the
it?
brick wall behind you.
Yeah, well, I'm down in the North Loop of Minneapolis at the Sotheby's office, and it's kind of warehousey. So
Okay. No, it looks nice.
I've got an exposed brick wall in my little cubby.
So we are one musketeer short today.
Yep.
Dominic is out and about.
Yep.
So Michael,
Yes,
did you
sir.
see the big breaking news? I have a dog in here for all of a sudden. As soon as I hit record, dog came running in. So sorry if I'm
If there was
ducking.
big breaking news like in the last 45 minutes, no, because I've been driving.
2 hours.
Give me a hint.
Rocket Mortgage.
Oh, I didn't. They're not purchasing that company.
No. So 2 weeks ago, Rocket bought Redfin. They added to it today. They bought Mr. Cooper Mortgage for $9.6 billion dollars.
Mr. Cooper?
Yep.
You know what? I just took a class for my relocation certification and the partner program certification. And one of the mortgage partners program that I was learning about was Mr. Cooper.
Yeah. So they are buying
Interesting.
them for 9 billion and some change.
Oh, that's a big
I
number.
would have sold out for 9 billion. Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the statistic that I read said that with Rocket and with Mr. Cooper now mortgage,
Hmm.
they will be doing one out of every five mortgages in the United States.
That's amazing. Can I give you a personal experience with one of those two companies? Is it appropriate?
Sure.
Back in the day,
Well, how long ago?
well, like a few years ago, having a buyer with Rocket Mortgage was kind of problematic in a way. But the last two situations where I had gotten a referral from somebody during the process of the purchase and the search process, the buyer changed over to Rocket Mortgage because of the um, the rate and the fees, etc. It was better for them in their opinion. And I was really afraid that it was going to be problematic. But I have to tell you, I had a really phenomenal experience. And the Rocket Mortgage person actually called me, and they were the person that was the point person for the whole transaction. And it worked out great.
Yeah, I
So there you go.
I would put Rocket in one of my top. Like you said, years ago they were just a disaster.
Mhm.
Now it's funny because I think last year I did 4 or 5 deals with them where they were involved.
Mhm.
I have more sellers than I do buyers, but
Mhm.
my only complaint, and I use that term loosely, is they over communicate. Like they call you, they email you, then they give you
Are you
their
talking about Rocket?
rocket. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I'm not
they
joking. I had constant communication, and
yeah,
then
they're fantastic. And then it's just
the lender's partner, the
yeah.
processor, was involved as well. And so, I mean, the bottom line is if I have a buyer that is referred to me or comes to me and they are gonna, for their personal reasons, choose to work with Rocket Mortgage, I'm not afraid of it
No,
and anymore.
no, I would put them ahead of so many different companies,
Hmm.
especially small
Yes.
companies that I work with up north or local lenders, big banks, whatever.
Hmm.
I would not run away. I've not done anything with Mr. Cooper. I don't know if they really even have a footprint here.
I
I
don't
know
know.
I know of them, but that's it. I have never, so I don't even know if they're in Minnesota, but I've never
Well,
seen one.
Anywhere, the parent company for for Sotheby's International Realty, and also I think my cousin is Coldwell Banker, owned by Anywhere, right?
Yep.
The Mr. Cooper is part of a partnership program for inbound referral. So people that have certain employers or people that they can get access to certain um, programs. And one of them is finding a realtor, and one of the lenders is Mr. Cooper.
Hmm.
So I was just on an educational webinar over the weekend about it. So yeah.
I would just like to put this out. If Rocket Mortgage wants to call and make me an offer with a B in it, that would be great.
No, how about if Rocket Mortgage wants to call you and maybe do a sweet deal for that listing that is up north that is sitting there? Oh, that's not
Oh,
your listing. Never mind.
no, it's not my listing. No,
Okay.
but
But for
yeah,
like 7 years, I think they need a little help.
yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, if Rocket's listening, phone's open. So
Yeah.
anyway, so all right. So you had a topic for today. You wanted to talk about what you're seeing with buyers and inspections.
I do. I had a very high-end property that was listed in the East Metro of the Minneapolis-St. Paul metropolis. And it's a newer build, just a little bit before 2000. And recently, the whole area went away from septic to city sewer just a couple of years ago. And the buyer's agent and the buyer chose during their inspection period to not only have a radon test and the normal, regular run-of-the-mill head to tail inspection of the property, but they also included a sewer scope, which is something that I typically see in more older infrastructure neighborhoods where you can have root ingrowth in the sewer pipes or things that have been put in, many, many, many years ago. And I was kind of taken aback by the sewer scope being requested on this new product. But I spoke to my broker, and it's kind of becoming pretty templated for people to have all these inspections done because there can be issues with even newer sewers if they were installed incorrectly or there's um, a disconnection in this. I don't know, but anyway, so yeah, sewer scope on a 2-year-old sewer connection. What do you think of that?
Well, it's funny. You and I had talked briefly last week. I'm actually working on some stuff for our brokerage because I think, we're torn, right?
Right.
You have buyers that want a property.
Mhm.
You have buyers that are in a competitive market, and so many of them waive their inspection.
Scary.
Very scary. And I say this exact line, buyers say to me, "What do I need to do to get the house?" And I say two things: overpay and waive everything. That's how you're going to get a house. But
In a
that
super duper duper competitive market,
Yeah,
and you can
but
also
but
get
that's not
yourself
going
in
to favor
trouble.
them. That's not going to favor them, right?
No, no.
So they have to be patient, they have to be realistic, they have to be grown up, they have to
Yep.
understand that this is a major investment. There's a good chance that they may not have. I mean, the key to buying a house, in my opinion, is not to go, well, I'll fix it later and just be like credit card, credit card, credit
No,
card. You'll never get ahead.
no. The
But it's
buyers
tough.
need the
So,
buyers need protection, and we have these protections in place for buyers for inspection
right.
contingencies. But it not
So,
only protects them, but it protects us because I don't want to be the realtor that was told, well, Mike told me that I should waive everything and overpay because you're going to get your butt sued.
yeah, I just think I'm working on a list that I want to figure out how to get it. And it's going to be like a bullet point, right? It's in the draft stage. Like these are
Mhm,
all the things that a buyer can get inspected.
mhm.
A lot of them could cost quite a bit of money, but you know, I'm on this group chat and I kind of put out this idea of like what's some things that I'm missing. And it's funny because I should have thought of it. Arborist. If you're buying a property that has a ton of old trees or a ton of unique
Yes.
trees,
Hmm.
Did you have an arborist come and figure out what's disease, what's good, what could be falling down? Does that matter? I mean, you and I talked briefly last week. We have houses in Duluth that have lead pipes that bring in the water.
Right,
So you have city water, but it's coming into the house with a lead pipe.
right,
We have I I would need to look, but I don't recall the last time. I'm going to say the last 25, 30 well properties that our buyers have had. We have had something outside of the normal scope of inspection come in high. So normally you have E. coli, bacteria, nitrates. That's kind of the bare minimum test.
right.
We've been adding three more, and we've been having pretty much every one of our properties has come back with lead, arsenic, or manganese.
That's crazy.
And it is.
And there are many, many, many modern technology products now that people can install for filtering of their water to get those things out. Like people in the city have reverse osmosis because they want to filter the fluoride out.
Yeah, there was one we had a buyer. This probably
And
was,
they work really, really, really well. And you can put them in and have it retested. And most oftentimes it comes back great.
yeah. We had one 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's a property outside of Duluth. I don't remember the community. The water, and I think it was arsenic. The
Mm,
water was so bad that the state of Minnesota paid for drinking water for the resident.
crazy. That's like what's the movie from the 80s when people were on the plume? Aaron Brockovich. So yeah, you gotta
I
no, you
actually saw
gotta
that one. Oh, I watched the Bob Dylan one this weekend.
oh yeah. I heard that Timothy Chalamet just was amazing.
That is a great movie. Have you seen Dylan in concert?
I have not, I'm not a massive Dylan guy, sad, but it's not my genre. I mean, he's a Minnesota guy, I know, Grand Rapids.
Yeah, babe.
Sorry. It's not my genre.
The movie's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen Dylan.
I love these movies about rock bands. Like the Queen movie was
Oh
amazing.
yeah, I
And
saw that. Yeah, I've seen Dylan two or three times, so
Mhm.
yeah. Anyways, but
But yeah, I mean, the bottom line is there are many um, protections in the state of Minnesota for buyers during the inspection contingency period, and they should be very well informed about them and heed them because in the state of Minnesota, a buyer can back out of a property purchase agreement during the inspection period with virtually no explanation. And when they find things like that, they can walk. Other states, not so simple because the sellers get a chance to cure, i.e. Wisconsin. So I will always, always say pretty much over my dead body that you're not going to have an inspection to protect you unless they demand that they don't. And then it's really important to get something in writing that they just chose to, on their own volition, not have an inspection because I don't want them coming after me and this getting sued.
and Mike, tell us, home inspectors in Minnesota, are they licensed?
Home inspectors in Minnesota are not licensed and they are not certified. Home inspectors in the state of Wisconsin, however, are licensed and certified. Now, there are different levels of quality in home inspectors. Some home inspectors are super, super, super good. They came out of the construction world and they're not alarmist and they let people know that, this house was built in 1900. I mean, it's going nowhere. But then there's alarmist home inspections that I find typically from the bigger companies that just are CYA, CYA, CYA for them, and they can blow stuff up. But um, it's important for the buyer to be given several options for home inspectors that they can choose and interview and pick on their own, as opposed to you saying, here's my inspector. They should be able to choose their inspector. So I'm learning to give people options or say, find an inspector and choose your inspector, and we have 10 days to get this all done. But they're not licensed and certified in our state.
Yeah,
Kind of
welcome.
nuts.
Yeah.
I can't build a birdhouse, and I theoretically could go to the school that we got our real estate licenses through and get a home inspector license, and I guess I could be a home inspector, but I would be a bad home inspector.
Yeah, me too.
Horrible. So you don't want me,
That could be our side gig.
you do not want me to help you get a home inspection. I'm
Mike
not
and
your.
Dave's No Idea on Home Inspection Company LLC.
Oh,
All right,
no.
so I mentioned this group chat thing that I'm on.
Did it
Question
did
of
it did it share classified information?
what?
Did it share classified information?
What are we talking about?
The group chat.
No, it kind of has some ideas. Like that was the one that mentioned the arborist when I sent out a question about like a disclosure, like what am I forgetting? And the question that somebody posed in the group was, why
Okay.
do
Don't
agents,
worry.
why do agents, when you've been on the market for 1 day, why do agents call the listing agent and ask when best and final are going to be presented when they haven't even booked a showing or seen the house?
Because it's silly. But what I would do is I would call the agent and say, I'm showing the house and I know this is going to be a popular property. Do you have an offer yet? But go show the house.
I had one
Just
this
go show the house.
I have a new listing and had a very nice text. Who are you waving to?
My colleague is here. He and
Who's that?
and I'm hoping I'm just gonna have him get a chair and I'm gonna bring him in. I'm gonna take my because we're gonna get are you a Gen Zer?
Yes.
Oh, we got a Gen Z realtor. This is
Hi.
this is Emmett.
Hi, Emmett.
Oh, got
Can you
it.
hear me? Check,
This is
check.
Emmett.
Emmett, can you hear me?
There we go. Hi.
Hi.
Emmett is this is the future of real estate. We got a boomer here, we got a Z here. The kid, young man, is phenomenal. But maybe we can get this is the future of real estate. Right
Well,
here.
welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, this is David.
Nice to
And
meet you.
these are this is podcast episode 16.
Oh, wow.
So my question or my comment was, Emmett, we were talking about kind of like some random stuff that agents do. But anyways, said this really nice text super late last night about this new listing. And the question was, do you think that a bathroom could be added to the lower level?
From the realtor.
Yep.
And did you say
I said,
you can
well,
do anything you want with money?
well, there's already one down there, so I don't know why you would want another one, but to each their own. And his comment was, oh, I didn't know there was one on there. And I said, well, there's floor plans online. He goes, well, maybe I should look at those. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
that's
this
why I
young man,
paid
that
that's
would
why I paid $75 to have them done so you can look at them, but whatever.
Right.
now this young man, that would never happen because he's very detail oriented and he's technologically savvy. And he's not a lazy agent. He will read the agent remarks and look at all the pictures and go show the house before they start calling the realtor with questions.
I love the interaction. I just want them to go a little further.
Needs to be done.
In fact, as long as we have him here, I just want you to know he just literally in the last minute or so before he walked in had a closing
Nice.
and inked a deal with a buyer for a property in the city of St. Paul that had an HOA that, with the TISH, which is a truth in housing pre-sale inspection, that there was issues with the deck. And he has been dealing with this with the buyer for 6 months.
Almost 7 months.
Almost 7 months. And the buyer wanted this house so much because it was exactly what they wanted that they just kept working the problem, working the problem, working the problem. And the deck finally got fixed by the HOA. And they fixed, I think, all the decks.
Yeah, yeah,
And now
completely.
they literally closed the deal. So anybody out there that thinks that these Gen Zers are not work ethicable, is if that's a word, wrong.
Very wrong.
I know, I just made up that word.
I think that's a real word.
It
is now.
is now a word.
It is now.
That is not a Creighton University word. That is
West St. Paul.
that's a Mike word. I made it up.
That works.
Oh, phenomenal. The future of real estate is bright. And even with all the technology and Chat GPT and all these things, the human interaction, the personal service, the problem solving necessary between people to get through a transaction along with the technology, future of real estate is bright.
All right. So the other breaking news this week is the ruling on the Clear Cooperative. Um,
Yeah. I
yeah.
think, thank you, National Association of Realtors, for putting another level of confusion in place. But my personal opinion, and basically it's we can now have a delayed marketing or a delayed clear cooperation or a delayed inside MLS, a delayed syndication to like Zillow, Realtor.com, etc. Correct?
Yeah, there's multiple facets of what they kicked to the curb or kicked down to the curb of the local MLS. That was one of them, yes.
And for me, my personal opinion on this, and we can have Emmett share his, is when a seller chooses to put their house on the market, if they want it to be private, if they want it to be very discreet, because some people really do. And the higher you go in price point, you don't know who those people are, but they want that discretion. You can keep it, they have the right to keep it quiet. On the purchase agreement right now, as we speak, before NAR even did this ruling, when we get to the point of syndication, they can check no, no, no. I do not want this to go. Why are you giving me the timeout?
Because it's not on the purchase agreement. It's
I
on
mean, I didn't mean to say that. I meant to
the
say
list agreement.
listing agreement. I stand corrected. But on the listing agreement, you can syndicate everything right away, but you can also say no, and then that is never going to syndicate. And the seller has that choice.
Yeah, but that's not what they're doing.
But I'm just going to recommend they're going to ask me my professional opinion. And I'm going to say, if you've asked me my professional opinion, you are best to get your listing out in front of the masses. And unless you want it to be private. And
So
they
let's
can just,
go back before Tuesday. The old way, which was only 5 years old, was a seller had two options. It was either on the MLS and marketed, sign in yard, social media, the IDX feed, which is the third party site, Zillow, Realtor, blah, blah, blah. Or if they elected it to be off of the MLS, it became a withhold or an office exclusive, depending on what part of the state you're in. The off market, the withhold, the IDX, in theory, you were only allowed to market it within your brokerage,
right,
and it could only get marketed to people that were signed. So if I had an unsigned buyer, I couldn't, in theory, mention it to my buyer.
correct,
So they had to be signed buyers because it had to be an office exclusive, the dual agency. We're representing the buyer, we're representing the seller.
right.
There's been this big push, legal push about whether or not that's right or wrong. Statistically, less than 1% of the houses that are sold are done through the office exclusive.
Unless you're with a certain brokerage in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, but that came about later. That's only probably about 10 months old that they really made this big push. This new rule allows for a couple things to happen. You could still keep it off of the MLS, but it gives me, Dave Lilja, Think Minnesota, gives me an opportunity to reach out to you two one-on-one and say, "Psst, I have a
Yeah,
house. Do you have somebody? Blah, blah, blah." I
exactly.
can do that. And the rule that they put in there is one-on-one. That
Yes.
can be phone call, that could be text, that could be email.
You can send an email to 5,000 agents at one
It,
time.
yes. And you cannot, as the broker and the owner, you guys could not reach out to me and say, disseminate this information to my brokerage. You would have
No.
to reach out to my people.
Right.
Uh, the second option,
One-on-one interaction.
yep, the second option was what we used to do. You put it active, it goes out, it's on the MLS, it goes out on the feeds, it goes out everywhere.
Mhm.
The third option, now the new one, is this delayed market, where
Right.
it can be on the MLS, but it does not feed to the third party sites.
Correct.
The rule that we are waiting,
For X point of time. It's like a certain.
that's the rule that we are waiting for is the local MLSs get to dictate, and they haven't announced yet how long that's going to be. It can be 3 days, 7 days, 4 months, calendar year, eternity.
Right.
We're waiting for them.
But can I say one thing? But it's very important to keep in mind that the listing agent signing that listing with that seller, the seller gets to decide what they want to do and what is best for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite clear that this ruling by NAR was kind of a cover their butt, because what they're saying is let the seller decide, which was always there, you know, just like the commission. Commissions are always negotiable, but
Always have.
they're really big in giving the seller all these information. I think the more information, the more things that they make these local rules for, the more confused the seller is. And I also think the more they're going to rely on their agent, which is not the position we necessarily want to be in. So I
You
think
know
it's
what?
going to be interesting.
The other thing that happened just recently with Emmett and I, because we co-listed a great big property down in the southern part of the state. I wouldn't say it was in the metropolitan area, but it was only a little bit out of what I would call the Twin Cities Loop in a small town on the Mississippi River. And we were live on the MLS. We didn't have a coming soon period. We weren't withheld. It syndicated. But the seller was very specific. They did not want a sign in the front yard. We didn't put a sign in the front yard because they wanted that bit of discretion. And we still sold with a great offer and had a lot of activity. I'm
Does
gonna
you
attribute that, I'm gonna attribute that to the third party site.
does North Star MLS share data with the Northwest Wisconsin MLS? I don't think they do, right?
North Star MLS doesn't share data with anybody.
No, that's not true.
I mean, not with other MLSs.
Yes, they do. They share with like 9 of them. It's on the front page of North Star.
Well, when I only have access to North Star MLS.
Right, but you get, that's why you see Rochester. When I first started, Rochester was not part of North Star.
But I think they are now.
Well, that's what you just said they weren't. You're
Well, because
contradicting
they
yourself.
joined North Star
No, they
MLS.
didn't. They're their own entity, just like Northwest MLS in Minnesota. They're their own association. You have to pay your own dues. They share the data,
Just like up in Superior, we don't get information from that
but
MLS.
they don't share. So there's 13 or 14, I lost track, MLSs in the state of Minnesota. So I don't believe North Star shares with Northwest Wisconsin.
Okay, let's get to the crux of it. How does this help or not help a seller or a buyer?
In my opinion,
Yeah. How does that all these weird conflicting and it's turf. It's turf between the Twin Cities.
I don't have one reason why that helps. Wait,
But how does that help or
sharing data or not
help
sharing
or
data?
MLSs, in my opinion, it's basically turf. You can't.
Right, but what's your question though?
How does not sharing data or sharing data between these MLSs help or not help a buyer or a seller?
Well, if it's shared, in my opinion, it helps. If
Exactly.
it's not shared, it doesn't help anyone.
So the ones that are sharing, I would say that's a good thing. The ones that aren't sharing, they're protecting their turf.
Yeah, I mean, devil's advocate,
Yeah.
devil's advocate would say Emmett has no business doing deals in Bemidji
How does Emmett feel about that?
because
I
he
don't.
doesn't know Bemidji, right? I mean, maybe he's from Bemidji. With my luck, he probably
But
graduated
why
from
does that
Bemidji High
matter?
School.
Because we have all the, what if we have all the data?
I'm telling you, no, I'm playing devil's advocate. I am not saying this is where I sit.
I know.
But the argument is made because I've been on boards, I've been on committees, I've been in meetings. The idea is you stay there, I'll stay here. I don't come to Woodbury. I don't come to Marine on St. Croix. You don't come to Worthington. You don't come to, you know, uh, what's across from La Crosse? I'm drawing a blank on the US side. Sorry, Wisconsin. On the Minnesota.
It's something, LeSueur.
Le
No,
Sueur. No, that's
no,
not
it's La
right.
Crescent. It's La Crescent
Yes.
Apple Fest.
So the idea being, Bemidji, Grand Marais, Worthington, you
Okay,
know.
but now I've got to play devil's advocate.
No, I'm not,
My
it's not, you
license,
can't play devil's advocate to devil's advocate. You
yeah,
asked
I
me what I
can.
thought. No, you can't.
Because listen, the people that are listening, thank you very much. There's turf battles that are clearly there. And David
That's not
and
devil's
Michael,
advocate.
and we are licensed in the entire state of Minnesota.
And I had to use that line recently, which I've told you
I am
off air. I'm
licensed in
not
the
going to
entire state.
repeat that, but yes, I'm just saying. So I believe the information should be shared. Absolutely.
And if Emmett had the opportunity to sell a badass property up in Bemidji, Minnesota, he is 100% capable of listing that property, pricing it well, accepting an offer, guiding that buyer or seller as well as any agent up there, period.
Right, but you took it away from your question. Your question was, how does it help or not help? I'm saying if it's shared, I believe it helps the general public. And what's funny is, what does MLS stand for? The M stands for multiple. So
Multiple
if you're
listing
not going to share your
areas.
data, I don't know how you can be multiple because you're inclusive. So right off the
I think the
bat, I think
state
you're
should
false
be,
advertising, but
I think, I think states should have an open MLS so that the state of Minnesota, you can see all the properties for sale in the state of Minnesota. If you're licensed in Iowa, the buyer should be able to see with their realtor all the properties that
yeah,
are
but
for
we can see Iowa
Iowa.
off of North Star.
But I know, but not everything.
No,
But we can't in Minnesota. So for example,
what do you mean?
I have a buyer looking in the Duluth area. If the Duluth agent put it into the North Star MLS, if they have access, I will see it. If they don't have access, because I don't have access to the Superior, I haven't joined. I can't see it. If I wanted to join all the MLSs and pay the fee, then I could, and I'd be able to access the entire state.
I can see, I think 95% of the state. I cannot see the Southwest. There's one little MLS down there that, not little, but there's one part. So, because I belong to three MLSs, it was four, but I'm now three.
So I mean, if I chose to as a realtor, I could pay and join the Superior Duluth Lakes MLS.
Yeah, you'd have to know the name of it first because you said it completely backwards.
Well, of
Close
course.
enough.
Yeah. Lake Superior MLS.
Yes.
I think their logo is the little lift bridge. Do you like that?
Don't you have to quantify that? That's not to scale.
Come on, let's get Emmett on the hot seat. These Gen Zers, they know their stuff.
All right,
Rapid fire. Emmett.
Oh,
Emmett. Okay, first of all, when did you get your license?
2022.
Oh, he's not that young. Jesus, Mike. You made it
Yeah,
sound
but
like
you
he
have
got
to
his license
no,
in
no, no,
like
no, no, no,
February.
no. You have to understand the background. He's a newer realtor,
Okay.
but he's a fabulous realtor. And so rapid fire.
All right. What's more important? Days on market or price?
Price.
Why?
Because I feel like if something is, in what context?
You're a buyer. You look at a
Buyer.
house that's been on the market for 105 days. Price is say 355, market value is 345. What's your biggest concern? The 355 or the days on market?
The 355, then it is clearly overpriced.
And there's more that could happen. Can I interject?
Yeah,
You have to go see the house because there could be a material defect inside that we don't know about.
yeah.
Or an
a
improvement.
buyer would have done a terrible job, which
Yeah,
happens.
or an improvement, right?
Or they had 100 cats and they smoked 2 packs a day.
Yep, that recently happened to
The
me.
cats can't smoke.
Yeah, but they can pee everywhere, and that's very
That's it.
powerful
Yes.
pee.
Yes, I actually showed a house Saturday and they were very excited to see it. Went in, completely different from the pictures. They clearly smoked in the house and they had about 5 cats.
All right, so Emmett, you go and meet with the seller and you explain that they can do a coming soon.
Mhm.
Pros and cons of a coming soon.
Pro, it's kind of like a build up hype. Built some hype for it. You know, you could do some hype marketing. Con, people forget about it pretty quick. They see it and then they forget about it.
And you
Whereas
can't,
you just go live, it's there, they see it, they can go see it.
because when it's in coming soon, nobody can show it. Nobody.
Yeah, you can just see it online.
So
Yeah.
are you a coming soon advocate or just put it on the market?
I like just putting it on. I feel like coming soon can get kind of lost in the mix.
I'm like, put it on the market, coming soon, maybe a day.
Day max, yeah.
Maybe a day.
Coming
But not
soon,
this
yeah.
21 days coming soon.
No.
It's like, give me a break.
Even 3 days, I feel like is too long.
Yeah. But there's many, many opinions. Keep them coming. Rapid fire.
Pepsi or Coke?
Coke.
Actually, he's a monster guy. He's
Yeah.
20, he's 26. They like monsters.
We like energy drinks.
Okay.
Always yelling at him for that. I'm like,
As I'm drinking hot chocolate.
okay, rapid fire, David.
Would you take a 2.5 listing?
Percent or million?
Percent.
Percent?
Theoretically,
Theoretically, I would try to negotiate a little bit more
Why? Why are you worth it?
so I can get a fair payout for a buyer broker coming in.
Why are you negotiating what the buyer's doing?
Because I feel like it's the fair thing to do.
Screw fair.
oh, David. Well, the bottom line is we now have the ability, even if the
But we're
agent
doing devil's advocate, right?
Yeah.
So why,
loves devil's advocate.
Mhm.
huh?
I said you love devil's advocate.
Yeah, but why are you negotiate? I mean, that's what the lawsuit was.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. We can't.
Everything's negotiable, right?
Yep.
And it's a loaded question that I gave him because there's no buildup. You know, I'm just like giving him like this flat trap answer or
Right.
question that kind of puts him in a box. So I mean,
But the thing is you can say you can say to the seller, that the buyer broker compensation is completely negotiable. There's a line on the purchase agreement where the buyer's agent can actually, with the buyer, write in what they are asking you, Mr. Seller, to compensate them
right.
for the buyer broker compensation. If the number is 0, then the buyer is responsible to pay their realtor a fair compensation for them supporting them as a buyer's agent.
All right, next question. This is Mike, you get a start. Your favorite style of house visually, but you would not want to own one.
That's easy.
Okay, go ahead.
Victorian.
I was going to say the same thing. I love those vintage Victorian painted ladies visually, but I wouldn't want to own one.
Seems like a headache.
Did you say ladies?
Painted ladies. They're called painted ladies.
Oh, I've never heard that term.
Well, Google it.
Okay, so Victorians, okay?
Mhm. Yeah.
I also really surprisingly love uber modern contemporary
Those are
like
two
art gallery
contrasting
style
things.
houses, but I don't think I'd want to own one.
Why?
I like what they look like visually, but I don't think I would enjoy living in that type of space.
It'd feel like
I what? I'm sorry, what?
it'd feel like a shopping mall. It's just not my gig.
What's really hard about that style, because I love that style, what's really hard about that style is our what, because it brings in so much natural light.
Mhm.
Everything feels cold. Like even on a day like today, I look out over my computer, the yard's full of snow. Like that coldness, I think just visually brings in the floor is cold, the room
Because
is
we
cold.
live in a black and white world for 9 months out of the year. Now, if I had a glass house, but I had super warm colors inside, I think it would offset
Well, then
the,
you would be contemporary and not modern.
okay.
I'm just saying.
Sometimes if there wasn't a screen here, I think Dave and I would start wrestling.
You would win. I got too many ailments.
I know because I'm mean.
Well, I need to have a new hip. Well, two of them.
True.
All you got to do is get my thumb and
Um,
I'm in trouble.
okay, David, question for you. And then we gotta probably wrap up. It's 12:20. Question for you. You are the listing agent and you're in your listing appointment and the house is absolutely beautiful, but they tell you when this house goes on the market, it is going to be vacant. What do you do?
I would ask them why they want to do that. I would walk them through the pros and cons, and I would be darn sure that all the photography and everything that needs to get done gets done before they take everything out.
Now, when you have the photography done before they take everything out and then it goes on the market, do you feel that when the realtors and the buyers go in there, that it's misrepresenting the property because now it's vacant? It
Well, I
doesn't look.
think there's a diff. I think your scenario is a little bit different than, say, staging a house and then having it pulled out, right? Because I think if the seller's getting out, we never know why a seller wants to sell. I would probably put that in the agent remarks that stuff has been moved out.
Would you encourage them to pony up a little bit of money to stage any part of the property? What is your feeling about a vacant property? Do they get maximum dollars?
No, and we're actually back to using staging again. I mean, I've been doing this long enough that it's on again, off again, on again, off again. We actually have staged two houses of late, and they both have sold. It's just if you get the right stager, and let's go back. So we had Vicky on here months ago, and Vicky talked about sometimes that staging is also just decluttering. When I use the word staging, I mean bringing in different things. I love the pop of color. I love being able to see plants or something like that, stuff that I would have never been able to figure out in that space. But to see the right kitchen table, round, square, rectangle, whatever, or the proper bar stool, or the bar stools being at a certain angle. I think if you can capture that and capture it in the photograph, I think that's how you get your big buck. But as you know, sometimes sellers are going out the door before they know what's going on. And
Exactly.
I also just really pump up quick close possible.
I, the National Association of Realtors statistic, and let's just take NAR out of it. The national statistic states clearly that a vacant house will take longer to sell and it won't get you maximum dollar as to a property comparable that has space defining things in it, like a table,
Well,
chair.
you still haven't been in my house, even though you've been invited because I need help with lighting.
Oh, right.
My house, when we bought it, was completely empty, and I have a really funky layout. And I think part of our success on getting this house was people had no idea how to use the space.
And you got it at a deal, I bet, because you were
We
willing to do
did.
it.
We did. All right.
Non-scientific data. Peace. Thank you.
Emmett, see you later. Do
Yeah.
me a favor.
Smash the like button, follow us, share.
Hold on. Hey, when Mike turns his back, hit him upside the head, would you, Emmett?
I will.
Thanks.
Have
Cheap
a-
shots are the way to go.
He likes to rip on me.
Bye.
Ciao.